Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Munoz, CEO of the experience agency, The Flash. Each week, I bring on a different business leader who's doing some game-changing work. And in this time where we're all sort of locked in with the coronavirus pandemic, it's incredible to talk to business leaders who are really at the forefront of what's new and exciting. And so I'm so excited to have Nancy Spears, who's the founder and CEO of Gen Connect U. We're going to talk about e-learning, pivoting your business, and maybe why I decided to join the land of online courses. It's going to be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Nancy.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
Just hanging out in a tin can in Manhattan. How about you?
Yeah, I think we all have four walls that we stare at every day.
It's like, what? I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's crazy. But
thank God for Zoom. I see you. You look great.
No, well, likewise. Well, you always look great, Nancy. But it's the one where to actually see other people. It's so important. So even though we are in this very unusual time, the podcast does not change. And so the first question doesn't change. So Nancy, what was your first job?
My very first job was I worked for a PR firm. I graduated and I actually got a job in what my degree was in. I graduated in journalism, public relations, and I worked for a PR firm out of Philadelphia from Fort Lauderdale called Sharpsburg and Associates. And basically I wrote press releases for about 3 straight years.
Wait a minute. You actually got a job out of college in the thing that you actually studied?
Exactly, but then I figured out that actually that didn't pay the bills, so I pivoted to cocktail waitressing.
What probably much more advantageous at the end of the day. Exactly. Yeah, no, it's funny because I think in 100 episodes or so, I don't think anyone has ever done the job they went to college for. So you are the first, Nancy. Congratulations. Okay, so you realized, PR was not for you, but writing was really, you had really good writing skills. How did we get to now be chatting? What was that journey like for you for your career?
Well, eventually, after I figured out that cocktail waitressing was, a very short-term solution to paying the bills, I ended up getting back into communications and went into the hotel business and worked for Westin Hotels. And I was the one that they would give the file to that no one else wanted to call, and eventually became director of sales for the company. And then got very lucky and met some people from this small company called Nike, a guy named Phil Knight. Early
small
in
company.
When they were launching the first air shoe, and they convinced me to help them with that. And so I got back into communications and marketing and ultimately started a company called CEM based in Atlanta, Georgia, and grew that to about very small boutique company, 7 cities, a couple hundred employees.
And a couple hundred employees, just a couple.
But we specialized in, we were very diverse. So we didn't, launch only in tech or only in pharma or whatever. We were kind of across industries, and that really helped us along the way. And so I ended up selling that company to the Interpublic Group, and took some time off to write a book about integrating ethics into the workplace called Buddha 9 to 5. And that book taught me that timing is everything, because it launched right during the Madoff scandal. And so it was kind of a joke. But it was based on a 2,500-year-old theory that integrity is important and basic goodness in people does exist. And so I had a lot of fun with that, but got antsy to get back into communications. And so I was kind of looking for where the hole was, for where we could be helpful. And at that time, YouTube had just launched a couple of years prior to. And so, and most of the big companies, big media companies, were not trenched at all in video yet. It was still, early in digital. And so we started capturing what we would say is the wisdom of experts in video. And we built that to about 10,000 short form courses and about 3,000 world-class experts over the course of a few years. And then I quickly figured out again that, it was difficult to monetize content, even though we were distributing the content to everybody from the New York Times with a syndication deal to them to Hearst. And so we started looking for, okay, where's the hole? Where can we again be of service with this brilliant expert wisdom that were fortunate enough and responsible enough to have a container of? And so I started looking at online education as a way to pivot again. And at that time, and still to this day, no one was targeting a female audience. And so I chose to capture wisdom in the form of short form courses and videos, targeting and helping women develop and cultivate their careers. And so that's what we do.
Awesome. So, there are a few twists in this story. So, one, you're a female founder who successfully sold her agency, and then you found you went where the puck was going, not where it was, twice. So, one, in finding that video would be where everyone is going, and then two, there is this big gaping hole for thought leadership and wisdom for women in business. How do you think you kind of have this spidey sense to know where folks are going?
Well, I think it is important to be in front of it, through awareness, to just look for the next big thing. And it always, I believe, always starts with pure intention. Where can you serve? Where can you really do good? Where can you really help people? And then if you do that, it's the old, if you build it, they will come. It does happen. But then there is this reality check around, do you have enough resources to really make it as well? And then the third thing is timing. So it is all about timing, really getting in front of it enough, but not so far in front of it that you are like, when we were in video, we got in really early and then the wave just rolled right over us because everyone all of a sudden, all the big media companies were like, oh, wait a minute, we need video. And of course they had the resources that we did not have. So this time with online learning, it's very interesting that timing, sadly in this unprecedented time of COVID-19, online learning is now, 3 months ago, people would go, why are you doing that? Why did you choose online learning? And now all of a sudden, because, sadly, because we are all inside, we're seeing a huge peak in demand for people wanting to increase their skill sets, learn, spend time productively, not vegging in front of, Netflix all day long.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. There's like two or three schools of thought. Like one, you can totally veg on Netflix, and if that's how you deal with the situation, totally fine. Then the other people who are going to write their next great American novel and like be super duper productive and just go. And that may not actually be a solution. And then there's this middle lane where I think a lot of us, and I find myself in this, where it's like, I definitely want to be more creative, but I also want to do it on my own time. And that's why I think, online courses where it's like, oh yeah, today's the day I want to learn Spanish, or I might want to learn something that helps me sort of be a better business person. And so that's why I want to do this versus vegging out over here or, being super duper productive. So I think you're right. The timing now is weirdly and uniquely right for this kind of learning.
Yeah, and I also think it's just like how palatable is the information in terms of the tools that it's being delivered in. So, for example, we know the attention span really of certain generations is very, very short and learned to be very, very short. So the average kind of secret sauce to holding an attention span is about 3 minutes. So our lessons in our courses are broken down into chapters and lessons, and each lesson is roughly between 1 and 4 minutes. And we see, when we watch the analytics and the data, we see, the drop off. After about 5 minutes, it drops down to about 66% of, viewership. And so if you take that data and you go, okay, let's build around that. Let's not try and change behavior. Let's work with the behavior. It becomes a lot of fun.
Yeah, so speaking of fun, because I actually did one with you, Nancy, and it will be debuting right after this podcast goes live, and it's all around the power of connection. And one of the reasons that I decided to do the course with Nancy was because it would actually be this interactive conversation, because I did a lot of research to figure out what works, what doesn't, and how different platforms can help the people who not only teach the course, but provide a value add for the viewers. And I found yours to obviously be the coolest one ever. But talk about why you thought our course would be a good fit for Gen Connect.
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, I am thrilled to launch this course for you and with you, because it's really needed. And we looked at what was out there in terms of, first of all, you're a brilliant connector, even though you will not give yourself credit for that, Laura. She's, painfully shy and yet brilliant. When you walk into a room with that big smile, the whole room lights up. It's true. And you have a lot to say and a lot to teach. So how do you take those skills and actually transfer them to a younger generation or someone that is just trying to, either recraft their career or start a new career, and they don't really know or understand how to, network effectively, how to connect authentically from the heart. And so in this course, you brilliantly teach that gift innately. It's an innate gift that you have, and the fact that you were courageous enough to sit down and really dig deep into how you do that, and then to share that in pithy lessons that are great takeaways, I think is going to be super, super helpful for lots and lots and lots of people.
Thank you, Nancy. For me, and I think this is for anyone who might be thinking about doing an online course. Do it. One, find the platform that works for you, but also figure out what you're good at. And I think for me, I've always thought that just sort of connecting people was just sort of the right thing to do. And then but over the last few years, especially, I've noticed that folks will come up and say, how did you know how to do this? And I'm like, well, it's not that difficult. One, be nice to people. Two, be nice to people. That's everything's about the power of relationships. And I think, gone are the days where you can submit your resume online and then hope that someone calls you back. And instead, it's going to be who do you know, and who can help put that good word in, who could help you get to that next thing. But does it come from just a random ask, or have you built a relationship where they know if you send an email, that's an email they want to open? And that's the difference, I think, that I'm trying to show with this course. It's all about the relationships, and even in this time of COVID, that doesn't change. Now more than ever, connecting with people, because we are staying at four walls all day long because we're all stuck inside. And so if we can have an opportunity to reach out to folks for Zoom coffee dates, and can learn and figure out how people are doing, and do a game night or something, and really build relationships. When we come out of this, not only will you come out of this stronger, but your sort of cadre of folks who value and like the things that you do will be immeasurable. And as you look to doing things in the future, that's where your best things are going to come from. That's where your best ideas, that's where your best connections are going to come from. Those strong, really built and relationships.
Absolutely. So two major things I think about. First of all, we were due to publish the course actually a couple of weeks ago, and then the light bulb went on, and we said, oh my gosh, you have to be able, Laura, there's no one better to teach how to actually communicate, via Zoom and on the phone and email, etc., but mostly on Zoom during this time. So, for the audience listening, I came back to Laura and said, would you mind if we added one more chapter here and kind of wrapped all that together so that people could really know how to be effective in this new medium? And so thank you for your patience and for allowing us to add that in there. So that's the reason for the delay, but we're almost there. The second thing is that, and the bigger picture is that I think it all starts with generosity. And so this mentality of holding things too close to your vest, that may be like an old school, older generation kind of threatened kind of viewpoint, just no longer serves at all, just doesn't work. And so the reason I believe, in listening to you film your course, learning from you as you filmed your course, that one of the reasons you are such a brilliant connector is that you're such a generous human being. So when you come from a space of generosity, and that, what you have to share is going to help somebody, it comes off so authentic, and everybody wins. So I really think that that is one of your magical gifts.
Aw, thanks, Nancy. Just keep it going, keep it going. But honestly, I am. For me, I really think that I was trying to figure out what is it I can do in this unusual time, because obviously, my day job is I run an experience agency, so I can't exactly do events, a lot of events in person in the middle of doing this, and so that's why I really wanted to have this course launched, because I thought, this is a thing that I everyone kind of knows I do already, and I might as well teach you all how to do this, and also sort of break down the barrier that it's really difficult, or like I've done something magical, and as opposed to, no, there's some really concrete things that you can do, but you have to come with it from a good side of your heart. And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to help people figure out, whether it's doing the 5 for 5, where you reach out to 5 people you haven't talked to in 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 days, or 5 years, and just have a Zoom coffee, and see how people are doing, and start with, hi, how are you doing? It's the simple nature of saying that to someone who you haven't talked to in a bit, and rebuilding those common bonds of connection, because you never know what kind of day someone's having, because this is not easy for folks. Folks are at home with their kids. They become school teachers, and they're working from home in the middle of during a crisis. They may be taking care of relatives who might be sick. They might have a relative who's in the hospital. And for someone to start off a conversation with, like, well, not what you can do for me, but just, how are you? Just lets those barriers go down. And I think that's how we can, begin to build better and stronger bonds. And I hope that comes out of this, that we understand that basic humanity, basic generosity is where this all starts. And if you lead with that, it'll change your life in numerous ways, because one, it just makes you feel good. I think people seem to forget that everything is not about, well, point A gets me to point B. It's much more about, how can I be helpful? Like, the more that you give, the more that you get, invariably. Like, this studies have shown it, read a book on all of this stuff, but the ability to give, you get so much more in return. And I think, giving folks the opportunity to see that, and with some of the really off examples that I give in the course, will hopefully get folks on that same train.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, the Buddha said, generosity is the virtue that produces peace. And, I truly believe that. But beyond just philosophically, I mean, there's just fundamental things people can do to open up that spaciousness, especially now when we're all home. So we don't have to, get out of the bed, hit the deck running, and launch into our to-do list. We can actually take, 20 minutes to meditate. And even, and in your course, you actually teach how to meditate. And that, there's a chapter in there that talks about quieting down and going within and doing that. And you actually walk people through this exercise. And it's, I think, super helpful, because people go, meditation, I don't know if I know how to do that. It's not that hard, but you definitely give some core fundamental, steps on how to get there.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of understanding that you've got to, one, give yourself some grace and give yourself some time. That all of this is weird and wacky, but you're not the only one feeling weird and wacky. So if you can calm yourself down for a little bit and allow yourself to just sort of be, also give yourself a set of gratitude for what, look, you woke up this morning, you opened your laptop. That's awesome. You did that. You had some coffee, give yourself whatever it may be. You open this course, for example, like that. give yourself some credit for doing that. So again, this is unprecedented. No one's ever gone through this before. Like, obviously there's been pandemics before, but like not in anyone's lifetime. It's been 100 years or so. And, we do have a lot of creature comforts that would be very helpful, like, Zoom, Wi-Fi, internet, Netflix. And so, but it's still shocking. It's still unusual. And so you have to let yourself be okay with this new normal and try and find ways to focus it within yourself. It's also part of the reason why I say have a little dance party, because that's a good way just to like get yourself up and moving and grooving, because again, this is unusual, but it doesn't mean you have to lose yourself. And I think, between the ideas of having a little bit of a good time with a little dance party, but also giving yourself the space to meditate and be grateful, will set you off on the path to have a really good day and hopefully put things in a good perspective for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, congratulations on all you're doing, and thanks for doing the course with us.
Of course. So, you're an incredible entrepreneur who I've, adored and admired for years. What's a challenge that you've seen in your career, and how have you been able to sort of pivot and find your way through it?
Yeah, the challenge is not holding on, not being afraid to change. You really have to not get attached. And I think that's true in anything in life, but certainly to ideas, because they're only as good until the next person executes the same idea better in a better way. So knowing, when to let go, I think is super important. And then at the same time, having conviction for an idea that you think is really, really going to change the world or be helpful, at least. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that if you're low on resources, which all of us are at this time, or could be, I mean, we don't know what the risks are down the road, explore new ways to make a dollar go a longer way, while you, and get creative. So I would say the ability to let go, using your creativity and your ingenuity to hold on to ideas that you think are worth holding on to and executing.
Awesome. What would you probably tell 25-year-old Nancy, looking back on all the things that you've done?
Well, since I have two 21-year-olds, twins, that don't think I've done anything.
As kids do.
As kids do. What's the question? What would I tell two 25-year-olds?
Nancy, 25-year-old Nancy, what would you say to her?
Dream big and go bigger. Because life is short. It's quick. When you're 25, you want to be 30. And when you're 30, maybe you want to be 35. And when you're 40, you don't want to be 40. And by the time you're 50, so stay in the moment and dream big and go bigger.
That's awesome. Yet so accurate. So, in this very unique time, everyone's talking about self-care and how do you take care of yourself. What are you doing for your self-care to sort of kind of keep yourself steady in this really uncertain time?
Well, the funny thing is that we have a lot of courses on fitness and wellness, but what I'm doing is I'm really wanting to try and help local businesses, and I still want to stay fit and healthy as I can. So I'm using online courses that I pay for that they're discounting on Zoom, like 50%, like some of the courses in the city. I mean, we're doing this call. I'm in Dublin right now because I can't fly back to the US.
You're trapped.
Trapped. And so I'm working out with a gym in New York City online every day. And it's only 35 minutes, but it's awesome because I feel connected to the city and I'm getting a good workout. And I think sleep is super important. It's really hard to quiet your mind, but you need to slow down and quiet your mind so you can get 7 or 8 hours.
And what's happening in Dublin? So obviously it's a different country entirely with regard to the pandemic. How?
Yeah, so I came over here. It's the hub of tech, gateway into Europe, and we're opening an office here in Dublin. We're right in technology the tech area. It's called the Grand Canal Square. So Facebook is next door, Google surrounds us, LinkedIn is around the corner. It's huge tech. And so I came here to open an office, and then, and then the flight stopped. And so I'm continuing to work out of here. But Ireland, they really took the social distancing serious early in. And so they've got about 600, I think, deaths for the entire country.
Wow.
And they even closed the pubs before March 17th, St. Patrick's, which is
sacrilege, but they had
totally
to.
Sacrilegious. And yeah, so they're really taking it seriously, and it's really paying off.
Wow. Yeah, it is. Well, also their prime minister is a doctor. So,
Right.
Helps.
Yeah, he is amazing.
So that comes in super handy. So yeah. I know. Same here. I'm trying really hard to keep up my fitness, because I know that's the one thing that I can do, that like for a half an hour, 45 minutes, just to sort of like veg out of this and like not to worry too much. So yeah, exercising is key. So as part of my series of interviews are happening during this time, I always ask my guests if they've got a give or an ask for the audience. And so Nancy, what might your give and or ask be?
So the give would be take really good care of yourself, take time for yourself. And as part of the podcast, we can offer a code. We could just call it Laura 2020.
All right.
Anyone who listens to this can go on Gen Connect U and get 50% off of any course they choose. So we can do that.
Awesome, Nancy.
And I hope they apply it towards your course. And
Shameless plug.
Serious plug. And then in terms of the receive, any ideas for skills? We primarily focus on soft skills, but any ideas that anyone that has around a course that's not being offered that you would like for us to explore, just email me, Nancy@genconnect.com.
Awesome. That's fantastic and so remarkably generous of you. Thank you so much, Nancy. As I said, I had such a good time filming the course with you. And obviously, I tell you, kind of nervous, kind of shy. But people don't realize that I'm actually an introvert. So to get me to sit on camera and like do this whole thing took a lot, but it was worth it. But I am deeply indebted to you for believing that I had something really important to say. So I'm so excited for the course to launch tomorrow. And so obviously everyone who's listening, please go ahead, Gen Connect U, find my course, and it has my lovely face wearing a red shirt, and share it with your friends. But Nancy, thank you so very much. I was honored that I got to be part of the Gen Connect U family, and I can't wait to see how it all goes.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for doing it. People are going to really learn a lot, and I'm thrilled and honored to be able to serve your wisdom up to the world.
Awesome. You're the best, Nancy. And that is our show.